It's okay? My hair is okay? Yeah. That's the main question, you know. Jammers, Leute, heute von der Quinta Vale D und gegenüber sitzt mir Francisca van Zeller. Did I say it correct right now?
Yes, you did.
Okay, hopefully. Sometimes with the names I don't have it, I have it more with the faces. So, Francisca, can you tell me just a few words about you or introduce yourself for a second, please?
So my name's Francisca. I am the brand manager for Quinta Vale D. I grew up here in the Douro Valley because my family has been producing wine here since I was born and even before that. We used to own Quinta do Naval. When we sold Naval, my father bought Quinta Vale D with my mother from my mother's family.
Since how long you have this quinta here?
Since it's been in my family for a long time, but we moved here in 1996 and started the project at that time.
And what you are doing different that others do in winemaking, for example?
In winemaking, we try to be pioneers with maintaining tradition. So what does this mean? Is looking at the vineyard and upholding and preserving what was already here. We've had vineyards here for thousands of years.
Okay.
And obviously this is the port wine region.
Yeah.
So we have all the traditional Portuguese varieties. And when we say all of them, we're talking about hundreds of them.
Wow. It's like in Greece, actually. You know this?
Yes.
In Greece, there's also a lot of varieties, domestic varieties. Yeah.
And Italy.
Yeah, Italy as well. Yeah,
I think Italy is still the most diverse country, and then you get Portugal is pretty diverse, and the Douro Valley very diverse itself. And here, just at the estate, we have 41 different grape varieties.
Wow, it's a lot. And so you said you are the brand manager. So do you have? You want to stay with this tradition because I hear it between the lines that your family or your father starting already to keep the tradition and to show it in a different phase, or?
Well, we keep the tradition.
Or comes the change with you when you enter the family business?
No, I think the biggest change will be...
Is it a family business?
It is a family business.
Because I just
it is a family business. But I think with this generation, so my father's generation was responsible in changing what the Douro was perceived as just a port wine region and transforming it into red, side by side with port. How do you do that, and how do you do it successfully and maintaining character and quality and wines that are incredible to drink and to enjoy? My generation will be, in my idea, the responsibility to do this consistently.
Okay, so the changing was just for the community. The port wines are sweet, and then you make table wines, you call it. So dry wines are of this region because it's a special terroir as well. Yeah?
Exactly.
We're talking about slate or schist. So you said, and this is also your personal approach, so to do it consistently to make more this kind of wines, right?
Yeah, this is what is rare in the world. Yeah. So I like the idea that I understand, I think like everybody with their own home, we like what we bring in and what is special to us and what we've found familiar. And so for me, it's all this diversity of all these different varieties in the vineyards that are really old, and that is becoming very rare in the world. It's
true. And it's unique, you know.
It's unique.
I think, sorry that I interrupt, but you can enter with this something unique, the world market.
Yes.
Who wants to have the Cabernet Sauvignons from... except of Bordeaux, you know, I don't know. I'm fan that you are focused on the local varieties.
And personality. Actually. I think everything that we do across the board, whether we're talking about, even for the new generations, the millennials, we talk about authenticity, differentiation, character, personality. And you have to have the people that are there and be authentic. And I think that's what we do.
And what is behind Francisca? Were you a bit around or your studies here in Portugal, or?
I was around a bit, so we grew up in Porto, and I would come here on weekends and during the harvest. So for me, the Douro is a lot of festivity and a lot of different people. And when I went to study, I studied history in London. Then I did a master's degree in journalism in Madrid, and I finished with a viticulture and enology postgraduate in 2013. So I was already working with my family, and I decided to do a postgraduate course.
So very very nice. So, and if you are not in the winemaking region, or if you are not in your business, what is your hobbies? What are you doing? Except of wine, brand ambassador, or how you
that
say
takes
it
up a lot of time.
Yeah.
So apart from eating and drinking and enjoying that side of life, I go to a few cultural events. I really like theater. I go surfing.
Surfing. Oh, this is very interesting.
Not so much recently, but I used to take up a lot of surfing.
There's one sommelier in Germany who made a wine service on a wave, actually. Have you heard about it?
A what, sorry?
A wine service, a traditional wine service on a wave.
Oh, wow,
you know?
I haven't seen it.
No?
We have a local winemaker who has surfed in a lagar. Well, he's put in...
oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
Do you think that you can bring more of this lifestyle of surfing, for example, or theater, or the culture thing, sure you said before, but in this wine world in one way? Is there a way for it?
Yeah, I think people that like surfing, for example, like adventure and like nature, and we like a certain peacefulness, and that's what I get a lot here in the vineyards. So wine tourism moves towards authentic experiences, bringing people into nature, into a certain excitement, because you're drinking different things and eating different things and meeting different people, but you're in the middle of all of this. In terms of culture, obviously, I mean, wine has been related to music, to poetry, to novels, to whatever you want to call it. But
very nice that you said, because I'm also working on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I think there's so many parallelisms when we're talking about good quality novels or poetry or music. These things have a lot of different layers to them. They're not one-dimensional, and they don't just stimulate one thought or one action. And when wine is interesting and well made, it is also full of different layers, and it doesn't just stimulate one dimension. It stimulates conversation, it stimulates thought.
True.
And so I think there's loads of parallelisms.
The old Greek uses, that's why they use wine, actually, to do this thing. And what is about the, let me say, youth, or I don't know if it's the younger generation, but yeah, let me say the younger generation. How is it here in Portugal, especially in Porto or in this region, how they treat it with the wine? Is it like they have a connection to it? Maybe in the wine regions, I'm pretty much sure they have, but in general, maybe in Portugal, how they treat wine? Is it still something new for them, or are they very familiar to it?
Very familiar. Here in Portugal, we're the biggest wine consuming population in Europe, and I think in the world we consume around 49 liters per hectare per year. So it's pretty high. And most people that I speak to, when I say I'm in the wine trade, their reaction is having fond memories of their grandparents' houses in the countryside, where they used to foot crush grapes or pick the grapes or something. And so I feel that many young people have a relationship to the origin, even though most of them are growing up in cities and therefore are more detached from this more rural life. But wine is appealing to them because it's got not too much alcohol, and there's a strategy with many companies, including ourselves, to bring them in through sangrias or through certain different products that bring them into the category of a grape juice, and then bring them into
the wine
more
life.
Complex wine life. And we're outside drinkers, and we are huge gastronomists. Portuguese people like the table. We like to sit down and eat and be with family or be with friends. So wine is the perfect companion for that moment. So it's easier here in that sense.
So and do you have one wine in your portfolio, for example, who are made for this generation?
Not necessarily. Here but we obviously think of the consumer, but before that we have to respect the vineyard. So the sort of consumer we're getting to is the more naturalist in a way, the consumer that looks for authenticity and for character. And so the direction that we give from our wines from Quinta Vale D is much more what the vineyard is giving us, and then ours. But we belong to a bigger group called Avleda, and within our portfolio we have a brand called Casal Garcia, and from there we have a diversification of products that are obviously much more consumer oriented and targeted to a certain consumer. So from sparkling wines to sangrias to rosés to vinho verde that have that style. So I understand the differences, basically.
Yeah. So, and you brought something to taste right now?
Yes.
In Greece we say llamas.
Oh, llamas.
What do you say in Portuguese?
Saúde.
Saúde.
It means health.
Health, yeah, it's the
You
same
need a
in
lot of it to enjoy a lot of this.
Yeah, this is the same actually in Greece.
Oh,
It's
okay,
also
so there you go.
know.
Health to you.
I just describe it with a few words. It's a, and this I face very often here on our trip, that we have a good concentration, a very nice acidity, a nice minerality structure, and even it's a bit higher in alcohol. 15 is a lot actually for me. You not feel it's very good bodied in the wine. And you said before CV. Can you just make it really short about the story about this one? Bam.
When my father made this wine and he was tasting it, so literally we're in the tasting room, we're going through all these different parcels and wines. He came across this parcel and went, wow, this is incredible. I can't believe I made this. This looks great on my curriculum vitae.
Cool.
So
that's why he named it like
that's why he
this.
named this CV.
And you mentioned before that you feel, or for me, it's almost the same, let me say it in my words, wine is also culture. And for me, it touches the sense like music and art is doing. So that's why I have a own channel called, a channel. And I show always a wine, and I describe it with music.
Oh, good.
So it's called in German Musik im Glas. It's music
in the glass.
In the glass. So
Oh,
pretty
cool.
easy. So my question to you: what sound is this for you?
Good question. Good question. Yesterday I was introduced, more introduced to Beth Gibbons. She's from Portishead.
Okay.
And she's extremely sentimental, and there's so many different melodies that she brings in. There's the piano that is clearly one of the main melodies, and then there's violin and I think a harp at a certain point, and the flute. So that's it. She brings in 3 instruments that are really melodic, and she starts bringing them in calmly while she's singing in an incredible voice these really poetic messages about her hometown or about her love. So I guess that CV would be something like that, bringing in all these different messages, not all at the same time.
Okay.
So it's not always giving you the immediate information. You have to go back to it. And this is maybe how it tastes. Thank you.
And one last question is, what you recommend wine rookie, how he should start with the wine drinking?
Start with tasting wines that are probably think about what you are eating and think about what you like in life in general.
But they don't know, maybe?
If you don't know,
food, yeah.
I normally indicate people to start with white wines with not too many tannins, so that don't go through oak. So a lot of fruit-forward wines with an appeal in that sense. So they have exciting aromas and fresh.
And do you have one in your portfolio?
We do. We have Rufo White.
Rufo White.
Rufo White.
Okay.
It's got a drum, and actually the drum on the label is this. It's the calling in. You know, the drum announces the arrival of different things. So this is our calling.
Here we go. So very nice last words. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you find yourself in Germany, just let me know. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hip-Hop, Leute.
Du brauchst eine Weinempfehlung? www.asktoni.de